Yo! Safe. Shout outs, Ants Belgium, welcome. I hope you're good. How's it going? Happy Monday. It's game dev week. I've got a week off work and we're going to make this game. Oh yeah. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good week. I am looking forward to it. And it starts here. Happy Monday, Ants. Happy Monday indeed, bruv. So, I guess let's get into it. There's been some progress made since the last stream. But I've got a problem that I can't get to the bottom of, so we're going to have to work that out. There are a few things that are going right and a few things that are not. Let me show you what we're working on, I guess, and then we'll just go from there. So we have these sockets now, and I'll show you in the level editor. This socket is currently connected to that door. This button is currently connected to that socket. This button can provide power, and when the door is powered, it will open. So we're going to have this kind of wiring mechanic where the player can plug in a cable and plug it in here and get the power from that button, say, to this door, for example. And, you know, these puzzles will work really well, I think, with the water mechanics that we have, because water conducts electricity, which is another thing we're going to need to work on at some point this week. So there's quite a lot to do to get this all working. But we have a decent start on it. You're sick. Oh no, sorry to hear that. Get well soon. Do you know what it is? You just got a bug. Is it a blast from the past? Have you got COVID? Are you gonna hopefully be on the mend soon, man? So look, if I press this button, you see the green light on the switch goes on, indicating that the circuit now, or whatever, the socket, that's what we're calling them, sockets. The socket is powered. Right, so that's one thing, but this one, obviously, they're not connected. Now, there's no visuals to back this up, but you're just going to have to trust me. When I interact with this, there we go, that white indicates now I've got a cable plugged into it, and then I come over here, interact with this. Now there's a cable between the two, which you can't see yet, but it's there. And I can prove it's there, because now when I turn on the button, this gets powered, and the door opens. What isn't working is disconnecting. I can disconnect, fine, but then... Oh, the disconnecting works. I think now the problem is I can't reconnect. When I try to reconnect, it doesn't work. Yeah, okay. So there's something going wrong that we need to work out. Your mum thinks you do have COVID. Oh dear, well, lay low. Just get plenty of rest would be my advice. Scrap, yo, how are you? Big up yourself. Welcome. So this is what this is the thing. This is the thing we're working on at the moment. Part of me wants to forget the fact that it's not quite working and just work on the visuals for the wire, because if we get the visuals for the wire working, then debugging other things will be easier. But it might be hard to get the visuals for the wire working when the fundamentals underneath aren't. So, yeah, it's a toss-up. I might have to sit and draw a flowchart, because things have got a little bit complicated, because you have... The switch is the thing that can create power. When the switch is turned on, it just, like, creates power. Then... Yeah. So that, guys, and the way our situation works is anything that can create, that sends power has a send node on it. Anything that can receive has a receive node, and the send node must be linked to the receive node. So in this case, the switch's send node in its target variable here, it has the socket's receive node. So it knows when it's sending power, it's sending it to the receive node of the socket. The receive node of the socket then pushes that up to turn its parent on, its parent being the socket. The socket then gets turned on, so it turns its send node on and it says, look, now I'm powered. Yeah, cool. And yeah, it turns it on. So then the send node in the socket gets turned on, and it's like, well, as long as my target isn't null, then turn me on. So that's the socket there being turned on when you flick the switch. So again, yeah, the send node gets turned on when it gets switched. That's fine. So then the socket sends its send node to be turned on, which currently has nothing. But the wire, when the player wires something, it should be then putting itself into that target. So we have this unplug function in the wire, but we don't have like a plug, like plug-in one. And that may be something we could add that would make things a bit clearer for us. At the moment, when the player uses a socket, all that stuff kind of happens here. Wob wob Rob, how you doing? Hope you're good, man. Evening, yeah, 11:30 in the morning, evening. I suppose in you know, we've got international audience here on the internet, don't we? Could be it's the evening somewhere. So should this be a function in the wire? Probably is tidier. So let's give it a function called plug-in, and we'll feed it the socket, because I'm sure we'll need that. I'll just put pass there for now so it doesn't give an error. And then I think we basically want to move most of this block of code into there. And this will just help tidy things up a bit, which should make it easier to just kind of understand where things might be going wrong. Is my rough plan. So let's go through this logic here. When the player uses the socket, it's the summer here, so uncomfortably warm right now, Scrap. Where are you based then? You have to remind me. If it's the summer there, then you're on the other side of the planet to me, because it is cold here. In Australia, nice. I need to go to Australia soon. A good friend of mine who's Australian, who lived in London with me for a long time, moved back there a couple of years ago. Like 4 years ago now, I think. So it's on my list. It's on my hit list. I need to go to Australia and pay him a visit. It's an expensive journey though, eh? So I keep putting it off. But soon, I'll go to Australia. So, you know, because we have this kind of nice succinct thing here. This is kind of a weird way of writing this. Is it not clearer to do this? Just so I can just immediately see if it's not null. What is he saying? If not plugged in is null. That's harder than just saying if the socket is not null, right? As in if it has a value. Is that the same? Could I just say this? Like, would a variable return if you ask it for a bool, is it going to be true just because it has a value? I'm not sure about that. I'll leave it like this. Depending where you go, it could be cold, hot, or sticky hot. That's jokes. I should say, I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube right now, so I'm reading 2 chats. So there's a chance you might hear me responding to a message in a chat window that you can't actually see if that's coming from the chat of the other platform. So yeah, worth bearing in mind if you're confused about what I'm talking about. That'd be that. Right. What would be cool is to get the chat on. I need to resort my OBS and all my stream layouts, because it'd be cool to have the combined chat on the screen somewhere so people can see. Anyway, I digress. So what we're saying is, if there's something already plugged into the socket when we try to interact with it, it doesn't matter if we're holding a wire ourselves at that moment or not. Whatever happens, we want to unplug it and turn on your affiliate. Yeah, I do need to do that too. I must admit, I thought I did. I thought I'd gone through the whole process. I think maybe all I haven't done is put my bank details on there or something, or the tax. It might be the tax information. So it's like, I think I am. Anyway, whatever. I'll look at that this week, Rob. You're right. I need to do that. Right. So this is like super simple. Just like when we try to use a socket, the socket we're trying to use is the one that's at the top of the interactions list. And then that socket, if it's got nothing plugged, if it does have something plugged into it, tens of pounds, stop it. Oh, stop it. This is really simple. And then we go to socket and we look at unplug. We take the wire, so plugged in will be the wire that's currently plugged into it, and we unplug it from, and we send self, which is the socket. Yeah. We then say that the socket now doesn't have a wire plugged into it anymore, so we set that to null, and the thing goes back to black. So that's fine. Right. The socket does unplug, then which does unplug on the wire, which does all of this stuff. Which, if it was powered, definitely turn it off. You're not powered anymore. And send the fact that you're no longer powered down the chain. Oh, this could be the problem. I think this could be the problem. Because oh no, we're not disconnecting, we're not removing the target on the send node there, we are just turning it off, which is always going to be true. if you're a wire and you're powered. No, hold on, you may still be powered. Yeah, I think this is the problem. Because if a wire's unplugged, we don't know necessarily if it should be turned off or not. It might still be powered. I think this might be the problem. So we want to work out we want to use this to then work out whether we're going to turn off or not, right? So I don't know if I can understand all this stuff. All I see is random words and numbers in random places. Yeah, man, tell me about it. That's how I feel sometimes. But no, I think this is it. So the thing is, the wire itself may still be powered. It's a little misleading because when we say is this powered, what we should really be tracking is whether the thing that's plugged in, let's say if we look at a wire, it just has a send and receive, yeah? What we're really saying is with this being powered is we're saying is the receive node currently receiving power? I think that's the thing. Because if the receive node is powered, then the wire's powered even if it's not plugged in, right? So what we should say is if the wire is sending power to the socket, then as it's unplugged, that target can be set to nothing and we can turn the socket off. However, if the socket is sending power to, it's either this way around or it's the other way around. If it's not that, then it means the socket is sending power into that cable and it's going in that direction. And if it's going in that direction, then when it's unplugged, that's where we would run turn off. So I think that should just needs to go in there. I wonder if that's going to just fix our issues here. So we plug those in together and they work. And then we're going to unplug the cable and test it. And it doesn't work. We're going to plug a new one in and test it and it still doesn't work. Okay, so that hasn't solved it. Yeah, I worry a little bit about this because this is going to be difficult to unpick. Why have I got that like guitar amp simulator open? I can close that. Close that. Right, hold on a second. Okay, so this is all, hold on a second, right, there we go. Right, pardon me, we're back. So there's some sort of residual issue, because basically, right, at the start here, there is no connection between these. So when I do that, that's making the connection for the first time, and it works. If I like unconnect it, and it doesn't work, and then I reconnect it, it still doesn't work. Yeah, so there's something funny going on. You see this? Can't that happen inside the socket plugin thing? That simplifies our code a lot. So if we move this into here, what we're basically saying is we don't need to declare it's the socket anymore because it is the socket. So if the target is null, then do that with the wire. Or else do that with your own receive node, I think. That means we can come in here and delete that. And it's the same as that too. And then we can just save this and check that it still works the same. It should still work the same as it did. Yep. And then disconnect it. It doesn't work anymore. Yeah, still doesn't work. It's the same. It's the same. This just makes this easier to read, and it means we only have that block of code happening once. So that's all good. CR7, hello. How are you? Happy Monday. And all that good stuff. So we may need to do a little flowchart here. And the other thing we can do from a debugging point of view is if we come in here and we look at what's going on, then when I make this wire, there it is, there's the wire I've just made. And then when I connect it here, we should be able to see those connections. Yeah, that is sending something somewhere, so that's cool. And then we come in here, boom. You can see the wire going from being powered to being unpowered, which is very nice. Now, let me disconnect this wire. Okay, now the wire still has a target, That should have been removed by now because it's not connected to either thing. But the wire is still... That should be null. Yeah, that should be null. So there's our first thing that isn't working. So let's look at this. So when we unplug it from a socket, if our target, if the wire's target was a socket, was that socket we're unplugging it from, then set the target to null. There is a wider question as well about what happens to an unplugged wire anyway. Maybe this should just be Q3, you know? I mean, we'd still have to turn off various things along the way, but maybe whenever a wire is unplugged, it should just be deleted. Do you know what I mean? Oh, big stretch. Right. Generic B. Yes, bruv. How's it going? I hope you're good. I hope you're good. I played your game the other day. That was cool. That was good fun. The dice thing. And AQUABOY's going good, thank you. I'm like, my head is melting. Because I'm trying to do this circuitry thing, and like, I'll show you what I've got. So this button here is connected to this like socket, and when you press the button, it powers the socket. That's pretty nice. This socket here is connected to the door, and so then we're kind of like making this. The idea is that AQUABOY will be able to like wire things up, which will then get really interesting when it plays with water, because water will be able to conduct, you know, the electricity. So you could cable from a socket like this into a body of water, and then have another cable hanging out the body of water on the other side, and so on and so forth. So that's where I think that's why we want this in the kind of water puzzle game. It's like to have some circuitry and currents. So I can interact with this here, and it goes white to just for now temporarily signify that I've plugged a wire in. And then I come over here and I interact with that one. So now we can't see it, but there would be some visual of a cable hanging there in the future. And now when I press the button, it opens the door, and the power, you know, that socket is also now powered by the button, pushing some power down the circuit. So that's all good. And it even then works when you come and unplug it. It does unplug itself. The problem is once you've plugged it in and unplugged it, and I don't know why, when you plug it back in, it doesn't work. Sad face. But the other big update to show you is where we're going with the art style. Actually, I want to show this off because it's really cool. We've got a lot of very nice concept art that another member of the team has been drawing, and we'd kind of been going down this, like, you know, this pixel art route, and these are rough assets, but we kind of thought this kind of resolution, you know, with a bit more detail on this guy. I mean, actually, you can see his body isn't at the right resolution. The running animation is kind of what we were thinking, like, but with better colors, you know? Anyway, this concept art was looking so cool, and we kind of thought, you know what, every game is pixel art at the moment, and we need a visual style that will stand out. So we were like, let's do an experiment and just do some sketches like our kind of concept art, but like bring it to life and put it in the engine. And so we did. Pete made this the other day, and I think I can just show this. It doesn't show off anything. But this is what the game is actually going to look like. And you can see we've even got lighting effects and shadows with these hand-drawn sketches. Now, we will colour it, but with like some kind of pastel-y watercolour kind of colours, so it will suit the underwater vibe. But also kind of the sketching and, like, you know, the dark sketchy lines will still be the main thing, and the colour will be quite washed out and sort of, yeah, watercolour-y, low saturation kind of colours. And we think that this will just help us stand out a bit more if the game looks like this, you know? Indeed. I mean, Pete's drawings are fantastic, aren't they, Rob? So, yeah. I think this is pretty exciting. Like, if we can get this visual style thrown over the top of this engine that I'm building, I need all these mechanics, get a couple of rough puzzles put together, that's going to be a pretty strong proof of concept there. It will look eye-catching. We're very nearly ready to show off gameplay. So I think we're getting there. But these sockets are kicking my ass. I can't work out why I'm able to make a connection, but then when I disconnect it, why does that affect the next connection I make? There's some variable somewhere that I'm not resetting or something. And it has got convoluted because now there's so many elements. The player instigates it, which impacts the switch first. Although I'm certain the switches work. Because we can test them in isolation. That's the other thing I was working on, which is really cool, is these tools. So the eSend node here, its script is blue because it has this tool tag here. And what that means is that there's certain amounts of this code that's running only when we're in the editor. And it's these green lines. So, I mean, for example, like, to show you just how easy it is to rewire this stuff, if I take socket 2 and clear that, it's now it didn't. Why didn't it clear? That's interesting. It doesn't want me to clear that. Why? I can just reset it. The line is still there, though. Huh, that isn't behaving the way I thought it would. Maybe there is something wrong with the switches. One used to spark out, yeah. Look, it only redraws when the target is not null. But what we could do is we can just say if... Wait. what if I take out that bit from there? I think that works. So now if I put the receive node from the door in there, it connects back up, and then if I reset it, we get rid of it. Okay, cool. So now it will update when it just wasn't updating the draw command unless there was a target. But actually, when there's no target, we do still want it to draw nothing. We don't want it to just leave the line it drew there last time. So okay, so that's a good change to have made. But so I can take the send node on this switch and put the doors receive node there instead. So now the switch just connects straight to the door. The sockets are not involved, and there the button just works. So it's really easy for us to rewire things, and having this green line in the editor is pretty nice. Like, the editor tools in Godot are so powerful that I can just change, just in the same GD script that I'm writing the game in, I can actually change the way the editor is functioning and feeding stuff back to me. That's unbelievably cool. And it's just this tool tag there, and then you just need this line of code which basically says if we're looking at it in the editor or not. So this code only runs when we're in the editor. This is not running it in the game. Same goes for this. Whereas all this stuff, actually I think all this stuff is running in both. Anything that isn't like inside, when you put tool, what that means is that all the code will run in the editor and in the game. So I think all of this stuff is technically running even while the editor is running now. But I guess that doesn't matter, but maybe it does. Maybe it does. Maybe we should tidy it up. I mean, all it will do is make weird things happen in the editor, I suppose. But maybe we should just tidy this script up, actually. Witchcraft. Yeah, it's amazing, right? It's like so powerful that you can do that. Now at least all that stuff isn't running in editor. Let me just check it still works now that I've done that. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, so I think the switches work. The switch is not the problem. The switch is a relatively simple object. Let's rewire this back up again. So the socket 2, wait, first the switch should be targeting the socket, and then this socket, this one here, should be targeting the doors receive node. Cool. So that's all wired back up now. I think the way to do this is to play and have the remote thing going here where we can look at everything that's happening. So I'm going to put a wire in there, and that's socket 1. So that means that now socket 1 is sending to an object. Now, actually, just to be really, really crystal clear, let's start this again. Socket 1 send node right now is targeting null. And then we come over here and we go bang. And we plug something into it. Why does that still say null? Do I have to... I guess these... I don't think I understand what this members thing means, why that's there, versus the script one here being empty. But the object is there. Okay, the object is there. That's the wire that we've just plugged in. And then we come over here and we plug it in there. And that now has created the wire object. In fact, I think it would have been created immediately when we first interacted with the first one. So you can see the wire is sending to the to socket 2. Presumably, I'd love to be able to see that object ID there, that 81157 it ends in. I'd love to be able to look at this and see that that is that object. How do we see what object number it is? Oh, I guess we click on it and we look up here. But I need to make this bigger to see that. And that's a different ID. Ah, but it would be the receive node that would be the actual ID, 81157. Okay, sick. Okay, sick. So that's making sense to me now. The wire is there, and that's why when we come here, it is all connected. Lovely. So now, there's our wire. We unplug from there. So now what that means is that the wire should no longer be sending to the socket. So when we look at the wire's send node, it's still that socket 81157. That is wrong. That's our problem. It's still like, it's not, the wire has been unplugged, but the wire is still sending to that socket, and we established 81157. Socket 2's receive node is 81157. We just make that just big enough that we can see our ID numbers there. So there's our problem in the first instance, yeah, is that it remains connected. So if I come over here and turn it on now, how weird. Look, the socket's powered, but it's not passing it to the door. How odd. That's still supposedly connected. The light is turning on and off, but the door no longer opens. Now I can come over here and like unplug that one too, which means that now socket 1, its send is back to null. So that is right. That when we unplug there, that works. We unplug here, it don't. But then that all seems to make sense. Now if I plug in here, we're making wire 2? Yeah, we've got another wire there. Yep. And then we plug it in here. Let's have a look at what it's got. Firstly, let's have a look at its receive node's number. Ends in 6241. So socket 1 should be sending to 6241. It is. And it's been plugged in both sides. So this send node doesn't have a target. The new wire does not have a target. And the old wire still has the target. Okay. So we have some breadcrumbs to follow. We have some pretty nice chunky breadcrumbs there. We've got some croutons to follow. Got some real... Wow. Have I got a... what are those other bigger ones called? Oh, what's the word? You know, like... Oh, whatever. Becky, what's it called? You know when people make those toasts and they put like garlic and like tomato on top? It's like a big toast.
Bruschetta.
Bruschetta. Have I got a bruschetta to follow here? All right, anyway. Yeah, don't know. Those are big breadcrumbs, right? That we just worked out. So the first thing that we established was that... My phone is ringing. And I've got the week off work, so I can just ignore that call. Yeah, baby. Let's make some games. All right, so... The big thing... The really big thing... was... that immediately, when we unplugged the wire... It didn't remove the target from that wire. And then when we plugged it back in, it didn't put the new wire to that target either. Okay. So let's follow that through from when the player presses the action button and it's a socket type interaction. We use socket. When we use socket, if there's already a cable plugged in, then unplug whatever's plugged in. So then we'd go to that socket and we unplug, which is here. Which means that we take what's plugged into it and we unplug it and we feed in the socket that it's being unplugged from. So then the wire is like, okay, I need to be unplugged from this socket. So we say, well, if the wire send node target is that socket, then set the target to null. So I think it's worth putting a test in here first. We'll just put yo. Oh, thank you for the follow there, arthritic one. Thanks very much. I'm glad you're enjoying. Let's see if that is happening. So we plug it in. It works. We unplug it and yo, this happened. So next is this, the E send node set target. Here. Let's print yo there. I can't imagine it's not happening. Yep, it did. Print target. I wonder if feeding in null, it means, I'd wonder if doing that works. Do you know what I mean? Like, can we set something to a variable that is null? Does the null move through, or does the null like just delete the variable? I don't know. So that's why after we set it, we're going to print what target we've just set. So we've set a target there to a receive node. And here we've set it to another receive node. Makes sense. It should always be a receive node or null. It works. Now if we come over here, null. So now if I look at the wire in question and look at its send node, that's not null. Still a thing. It's still there. When what? Why is this? It just prints null. It says it's null. But it's not null. It's still there. that's still going to be 81157, as we know, is this. Oh. Not that, sorry. This. Yeah. Socket 2's receive node. So why is that misbehaving so much? It doesn't make any sense to me. I think I'm missing something when it comes to setting something to be null. But then we print it there. We print that it's null. So something resetting it to that immediately afterwards. Let's print something in here. Put yo there. So I think we would expect to see yeah. And just to hammer this point home, if that's turned on and then we connect these, then it does, and we get, that's where we get the yo. Yeah. So what is going wrong with that then? So in the wire here. It's very strange. I'm going to take a quick break, 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll be right back. I'll play some tunes in the meantime. All right, burb. Okay, we're back. Yo to the yo. Oh, Stefano, yes, how you doing? If you're still there, big up yourself. We are making AQUABOY. Yeah, baby. Right. So let's get back to where we were, what we were doing. Yeah, so you're good. Oh, good. Good to hear it. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good, thanks. I am good. I've been very much enjoying this this journey that is learning to make games. It's been good fun, and yeah, we're getting pretty far with AQUABOY now. I'll show you where we're at. I've got this button here that is turning this socket on and off. I can link the sockets with a wire that we can't yet see, and that'll open the door. So we've got like some basic cabling. We could probably do something quite bad here. Oh look, the door stayed open. Yeah, so okay, so there's still a lot of logic stuff that needs fixing there. But look, we have like various different things. We can grab onto things, we can pick things up, we can throw them around. We can push things about as well. We've got a bit of physics going on. We can climb ladders. And then we also have water there. So we can, if I pick this up and drop it in the water, it floats. Not with us on top. Oh, it's not floating back up. That's something weird. It should float back up. There we go. So yeah, we're like, it's getting there. It's getting there. You didn't see the Mario Kart escape thingy. How'd that go? It went well. Yeah, we came 5th in that game jam, I think. I think we came 5th, and we were featured in the video that Vimlark made at the end of the jam as well, which was pretty nice. The animations are smooth. Oh, good. These are actually, all the animations are placeholders. Because I was showing this off, but our art style is going to actually be hand drawn. I mean, that hand sketch at all the frames. So placeholder pixel art, and then eventually it'll be drawn. Yeah, it'll be drawn all over basically. Ooh. So yeah, there's some fun stuff to do here. There's still, yeah, the physics definitely needs work. There's some weird stuff with the physics sometimes. But yeah, overall, the game is starting to take shape. I can't quite reach. I need to get the other box, which I think we have a chance of throwing this one up here. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, I threw it up, but we're not going to get it up to the top of the ladder, I don't think. We need to kind of do some weird stuff, push this along, and then maybe... Oh, why is it not colliding with our head? There we go. Anyway, we'll have... yeah, there's stuff to work out there. I just want to get enough mechanics in that we can make a few test levels, put the artwork in, and get some little clips, some little teaser clips going. I think that will help us start to build a bit of a following and things like that. Okay, so the thing that we were really struggling with is this. It seems that if we feed a new target into this, it's just not always working. What happens if, like, if we just make it be null first and then put the new target in, so that if the new target is null, it's like properly nulled already? Does that make sense? I don't know. Let's see. I feel like there is something to do with the way these things connect up. So look, if I disconnect that wire there, I've just had a serious thought. Actually, I think I know what's going on. Yeah, because look, it's still there. The target is not null. But I think I know what our problem is. It's probably the logic here. If there's a socket already plugged in, unplug it. Oh no, it should be. So what's the gist of AQUABOY elevator pitch? Well, we did a jam. There's a jam game that we made anyway called AQUABOY, and it's kind of a spiritual successor to Gravity Boy, which was also a jam game made last year or the year before or whatever. But basically, the elevator pitch is that it's a puzzle platformer. It's going to be some pretty. It's going to be pretty narrative driven. We've got a good story, some twists building up, and physics. I guess the water physics. So a narrative driven underwater puzzle platformer. The one about repairing the submarine. Yeah, exactly. That's this. We're just making it into a full game, and because Gravity Boy was really well received as well. I think that came 6th or 7th or something in the jam that we entered that into. Let me look up. I can't remember my stats. Let me look up my stats on itch here. Oh, I have a new. Okay, that's nice. Now, let me have a look. AQUABOY came 7th place in the jam that we entered that into. Gravity Boy came 6th place in the one that we entered that into. So, yeah, these are both kind of the spiritual predecessors, or whatever the phrase would be. I'll show you, Stefano, the art style as well, because it's exciting. Let me find this, show you. Hold on. Basically, we're going to be using the concept art sketches that Pete's been doing as our kind of actual art style for the game. So look at this. And you see we've actually got some shadows and stuff moving around. So we're going to have some really nice lighting and things. So that's the art style. And I think that's going to stand out a lot more than pixel art. And we'll color this in. There's going to be some light coloring in the background, but yeah, with like really realistic lighting, with the water physics, it's going to look like sort of, yeah, comic book, sketchbook come to life. And I think this will really help, because with like indie games, like it's so competitive, right? Everyone's making an indie game, and we want to stand out. Like the art style's got to be something different, I think, you know? So yeah, that's what I want to do, is basically get a good amount of features in. Where's the Miro? We want to get as many features in as we can, and then get some of that art over the top of it, and just get some play testing going. So look, so here's the roadmap I was working on the other day. So we're going to keep it sketchy, exactly. Like Oxygen Not Included. Do I know that game? Oh yeah, that looks like a more polished kind of cartoon, right? No, I don't think we're not going for that. We're going for sketchy. Sketchbook come to life, I think, is the vibe. That looks cool though, that oxygen not included. I might have to have a little bit more of a look at that. Anyway, here's this roadmap. So I'm sort of working on these two things at the moment, the send and receive signals and the being able to actually place wires. I suppose wire cutters is what we called it as a tool name, but yep. Oh yes, that's right. And the doors also work with the water now. That was a big one to get that right. Ideally I wanted to get like all of these features implemented by the end of January, and I have this week off work, so hopefully we can. This wiring stuff I'm hoping to get done today, but there is a potential that I need to just start slightly again with the way I've done it. I don't know, hopefully we can get to the bottom of it, because I like the concept of, like, in theory I like the way I've said it all out, but in practice it's become a little bit awkward. But then the idea is that February we'd be making levels and doing some play testing. But I guess as many of these features as we can get in as possible, good. Then we just start making levels with what we've got. And yeah, then once we've got that and we get some art into it, I can make a devlog video for the DankNStein channel there, like a proper something to try and grab people's attention with the art style and stuff. And then March we'd go into NPCs, and then in April specific enemies using that NPC class to kind of build enemies on top of. Yeah. That's the plan, Stan. So how do the wires work? Lay them down, they'll just connect A to B. They connect A to B. So what I have is I have a send and receive nodes here. And anything that can either send or receive power will have either one of these nodes or both of them. A switch, for example, just has a send node. A switch can't receive power, but if you switch it on, it will send it. And if you switch it off, it will stop sending it, right? A door, on the other hand, cannot send power, it just has a receive node. You can power it to open it, or you can unpower it to close it, but it's not going to be sending any power out, so it only has receive. Then things like sockets have both, and wires, they have both. But I really like that. That's really clear, and in theory works great, and it did work great. And like in the editor, it's really nice and easy, and I've got this editor tool drawing lines between what's connected, and I can just drag. Every send node has a target, and I can just drag. If this socket 2 wants to send to that door, I can just drag the receive node from the door in, and that makes a connection. Like if I sever that connection, you can see it's as easy as dragging that in there, and now that socket's powering that door. So all that stuff is great, and that's what I intended when I kind of came up with this send and receive node system. It does get more complicated when you have things like the socket or the wires that actually... Why is that grey? Why is that grey? Is it because... I know why. Oh, I remember why. It's because it's not being processed. By default, the water is not being processed until the level tells the water it's ready. That's right, isn't it? Test level. When it's ready, it tells the water you can start. The scene is ready. You can start doing things. Okay, yeah, I remember now. Anyway, where was I? The problem is with something like a socket now, what that means is that it's directional. So you have some sockets that are connected to something that's sending them power. And you have some sockets that are connected to things that they are sending power to. And kind of this distinction between sending and receiving, making it a directional transaction, is making the logic very difficult to get my head around. Whereas the other, like if I was starting again, you could just have electricity node, which is either on or off, and can be connected to up to two things. It can either be completely not connected to anything, or it can be at the end of a line of connections, or it can be in the middle of a line of connections. Or maybe it could just be connected to as many things as you want, but and you just have like a powered property that just follows any electricity node that's powered will then send the powered signal onto anything else it's connected to. The other thing is that you want the connection to be two ways, but right now my send nodes have a target, but my receive nodes don't actually have like a record of who's sending to them. So it's very it's asymmetrical. It's like the power, the electricity at the moment in our game has a direction. And maybe it shouldn't. Maybe I should start again and have it not have a direction. I don't know. Hello, Unreal Ray-Q. Welcome. How are you? Happy Monday. I don't want to give up on everything I've done so far, though, just yet. I think we can get it working, and I do think there are benefits to it having a direction kind of built in as well. Yeah. Right, hold on a sec. Right. So the thing to kind of try and work out is why that wire isn't disconnecting. Snack, how are you? Long time indeed. How goes it? Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. How are you? I hope you're good. I should point out, I am streaming both to Twitch and YouTube right now, so you may see me interacting with comments that you can't see yourself, because I've got two chat windows on the go. To model the wire itself. Yeah, so we kind of have that with the wire, because the wire's got a receive and a send. I haven't yet built this plugin function, because we're doing that actually here. And then when we go into the socket, yeah, we're doing this here, right? So it's not actually calling this, but I think I should move that logic to there just to be more organized. Seen some of the last VOD. Oh, okay, nice. And yeah, how are you, Snack? I hope you're doing well. Okay. You're doing great. Good. Glad to hear it. So look, so why don't we sort this out? So when a wire gets plugged in, but I mean, we know the plugging in is working, to be fair. We know. Let me show you what I know isn't working. When I connect those, lovely. The first thing that isn't probably working is now when I disconnect this wire from here, which at the moment is just that white, this black square turning white shows us something's plugged in or not. Now there's nothing plugged in there. So the wire, which is this object here, when we go to remote here, we're actually looking at what is loaded in the game. In here is this remote bit right here, okay? So the wire is the one wire that the player created when they connected these. And look, the send node is still connected to that object, which is socket number 2's receive node. 81157 at the end there, and that is object ID 81157. So even though when I just interacted with it there and that turned black, because it turned black, we know that this code was run, where it changes it back to black. Plugged in, unplug self, and plugged in should be null. And when the plugged in variable there should be that wire. Unplug self. So if we come into unplug here and we just do a print of the word yo, then that should be working. And then if the send node target is that socket, so let's actually print in there instead, because this is where we should be setting the target to null, right? What are your triggering code when you disconnect? Yeah, yes, quite. So when we disconnect, the player presses the interact button, which in their idle state is the only state I've added this kind of socket interaction to yet. So when the player has a socket they can interact with, we call use socket, then they use the socket, we take the thing on the top of the interactions list, which is the socket that they've just interacted with, and we call it socket. Then we say if the socket is plugged in, it has a wire in it. If the socket has a wire plugged into it, as in if it isn't null, then unplug the socket. Yeah. And unplugging the socket is going to do this, which is going to call unplugged on the wire that is plugged into it. And actually, let's test that the wire's going in there. That's a good thing to test here. So like if I do this and this, now there's a wire there. Both of these sockets. Oh wait, no, in remote. Plugged in has object 30137 at the end, which is this wire, isn't it? 30137, yeah. So socket 1 does have that as its plugged in thing, and socket 2 has it as its plugged in thing. So when we say plugged in unplug, that's calling unplug on the wire and passing in its own self, the socket that is unplugging it. And then we're saying because we've now unplugged that wire and told it to unplug itself from the socket, we can now, the socket can say I don't have anything plugged into me anymore, and I go back to black. We know that's working because we're getting the color change. So all this must be being executed. And then we come in here and that's happening. If, and this is on the wire, so if the wire's send node target is the socket, then it means it's going in that direction. The power was coming from the wire to the socket, which in our test case, when we unplug this one on the right, is the case. So then we set the target for the wire back to nothing. It's not got anyone to pass its power to. And we turn the socket that we were unplugging ourselves from off. In case it wasn't off already, now that we're unplugging from it, it's definitely off. Or else, this isn't true, and it means it's the other way around. It means that the socket was sending power to the wire. In which case, it's the socket's send node's target that needs to be set to nothing. And then if the wire was powered before, it needn't be powered anymore. And then set target on the eSend node is here, which we'll put Yo2 there. Okay, so I've changed that code. We'll just reload that now and have a look again. So I plug in, we get Yo2 and Yo2 because we've changed the targets of something. Then if I come over here and I unplug, oh, we get Yo2, but we don't get Yo1. Did I remove Yo1 from the wire thing? No. That is unbelievably confusing. How are we not getting that printed? It's less Yo than it should be. Yeah, exactly. This, we didn't get Yo1. We didn't get regular old plain Yo. We only got Yo2, which means that something was having its target set. But it wasn't the wire. Okay, well, let's go back a level. Let's call that one Yo2 and let's call this one Yo3. And then we'll go to the socket here and that can be Yo1. Wow, okay, it gets more and more and more baffling. Plugged in, unplug self. So we printed that because the player interacted with a socket that had a wire plugged into it. So because it had a wire plugged into it, we did this, which means we did this, which means we got Yo1, which means we did this, pop that there. Yeah, I think I'm in the else branch. But if the send node on the wire has a target that is the socket, but that should be the scenario. So in this scenario, the wire that we've just connected, its send node, its target. Oh, I know what it is. its target is not the socket. Its target is the receiving node of the socket. That's it. That will be what it is. Let's move this back to, I'm certain. Well, there's probably more problems than just that, but it was that. You should have 2 ifs. No, but you're only ever going to be interacting with one socket at a time because of the way the interactions picker works. Yo 2 and yo 3. Disconnect that one too. That time we didn't get a yo 2, but that's because, I know why that is. It's because we did that time we were in this side. We came down the other way. Okay. Oh shit. Hey, it's just fucking working now. That was it. There was that one line. Yeah. We got there. It's always the way, like, sometimes I've made, like, just, like, in my head is just the logic is wrong and I've just set things up wrong. Like, the logic isn't right. But more often than not, it's not that. More often than not, it's something like this. It's just where I'm just pointing at the wrong thing. And I haven't noticed that I'm pointing at the wrong thing. Okay, so that's big progress. Let's get rid of all our yos. Where was the third one? Socket, wire. Oh, it would have been in here. Okay, so we don't have any yos anymore. The other thing I want to do is I want to move that logic from the socket here, because this is more about the wire, isn't it? You know, the first thing here should just be wire plug in, and then what's the wire? The wire wants the socket, so we'd send self to that, and then it's this logic here that we'll cut and move into here, paste, and what we're saying is if the socket's eSend node target is null, then set that to the wire's receive node, right? And if the wire's send node is that, then set that to the socket's one. Everything should still just work. That's, I guess, my future self. Yeah. That's that's it. You got to protect yourself from yourself. That was cool. That was a good test to do. Look, check this out. So I can unplug this first cable here, which means it's just unplugged. Now I can put a new cable in. So now these two are separate. This cable is like not connected. This one's hanging still from not being connected before. I now come over here, and when I press interact, it's going to unplug the other dead cable, but I'm still holding on to the end of this one I plugged in, and then I can plug it in and it works. I think this is looking... I can't break it. I can't break it. Yeah, man. Okay, so what we want to do now is add visuals for to represent these wires. And the wires, I think, do need to get a little bit more complicated, because the wires, when they're not plugged into a socket, the end of the wire must be an interactable object so that we can go up to a wire that's hanging loose and pick up the end of it. Okay. For now, there's other things we can do, but I think the first thing could be to just use draw commands like we have done in here, and just get a line going. So the wire is always going to have a couple of variables here. It's going to have like position A, which would be a vector 2, 0 for now, and position B, right? The wire has two ends. It doesn't matter in terms of this stuff. I don't think these matter which way round they are. It's just about visualizing it. I suppose what we do, we have to assign. Maybe it could just always be direct. Maybe it should always be directional. So position A should like always be the receiving end of the wire, and position B should always be the sending end. So maybe we should call it, yeah, let's call, I was going to call it receive position and send position, but actually let's call it position receive. Can I spell receive? No, receive and position send. And then yeah, this will work. So yeah, I guess in the short term, let's use these draw commands. Let me just copy all of this into the wire for now. And we don't need that because we only want to run this. This is not a tool, but it's just easier to be able to see these things like, I guess when the wire comes into existence, its global position is 0, right? So what we probably want to do is just say, draw a line from its receiving end to its sending end all the time. And yeah, lime is a fine color for now. If powered, then it would be green. Else, let's make it red. That'd be cool. Which I'm guessing is like the same as what we did with the sockets, did we? Oh, we actually used just green. Let's just use green in the wire one as well then for now. So these constantly need updating in the physics process there. We've got to get our head around this, because the player is going to need to be updating one of these when the player's holding the cable. When it gets plugged, whenever it gets plugged into something, we need to set one of these. Player held or something. So there's like a variable for which end the player is holding. Nice one, Stefano. You got a lot of documentation to write. That sounds exciting. Thanks so much for joining in, man. And really nice to hang out and speak to you soon, eh? Yeah, peace. Peace, brother. Okay. So I'm thinking that we can keep track of which end the player is holding. Whenever the player starts holding a wire. Is that dumb though? Because otherwise the player's got to know which one it needs to update, whereas the wire can know which end the player's holding. Potentially. But basically, when we plug something in, there needs to be some logic around the positions. So if the sockets doesn't have a target, then that means the socket's sending into the wire. Which means that socket we're plugging the receiving end into the socket. So then we'd say the position of the receiving end equals socket global position. Else we're sending into that. I just want to see what that does already. Yeah, so it kind of already works quite well. Not too bad. Okay. In the long run, this will be replaced with like a physics simulation of like a dangly piece of rope, cable, wire, whatever. Is it as simple as like when we plug it in, this is the problem, is we're going via the socket. So we could just pass some information here about whether the player is holding the other end of the cable or not at that point, and pass it through to the wire. That would work. Isn't massively tidy though. I'd like it tidier. It's pretty cool. And the fact that it goes green, I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool. The player is keeping track of any wires that they're holding. Like plugging in that wire. So do we just go with true and false like that? So whenever we plug in a cable, we just pass in whether or not we're holding the other end of it still. Because in this case we are. We don't have a wire in our hands, so we make a new one and we plug it in, and that means we're holding the other side. Whereas if we do have a wire in our hands already, then we just plug it in, and now we're not holding one anymore. So true and false like that works. And then the sockets plug-in thing needs to have a player holding there, which will pass straight through to the wire. And then when the wire gets plug in, then we have player holding here. And this is how it works. So then we'd say player held must be the position send. But we want to, yeah, I guess we'll do it as a, like that. Receive. Am I spelling the word receive wrong in like all of the code I've written? Or is that how you spell the word receive? Okay, cool. Now I'm spelling it right. I never really got spelling. That wasn't ever one I got. Okay, so this only happens though if player holding is true. Right? Otherwise, player held can just be its default value. It should be like no or something. I don't know. Right now, if player held equals position receive, then no, I have a better idea. The player will set it up like that. Then, because wire is a thing, yeah, the player has wire. So in their physics process here, so you have manage water entry and exit as a little function. Now let's put this one in here as well. If wire isn't null, then we're going to update wire position, which we'll put under use socket. And it's just going to be wire update held position, and we'll feed it the player's global position there. And then the wire can have that function here. I'll say if player held is the send position, then position.send equals go position, else, or maybe to be safe, save. I guess we don't need a... It's only ever going to be called if one of those two things is true, I hope. Okay, that's pretty fucking good. We'll get the players... what we'll do is we'll just do that, and then we'll just say stop y plus equals 32, and then we'll feed position in there instead. Oh, minus equals 32. So now you can properly visualize. I get a new cable. Okay, yeah, so what we need to do now is when something is unplugged, so when something gets unplugged, we now need to do something to it. Oh. That's a good stretch. We're getting there. It is all starting to happen. This stuff just takes forever. I wonder if I can break it. There's like two cables there. So the wires, I think, need to keep track of where they are and what they're doing. Also, what happens if we just interact with the same one again? That breaks it. So when something's unplugged, right. Sorry about that. It's getting a phone call. Let me just sort this out. Hold on. Right. What am I looking for? Sorry, bear with me. I'm trying to multitask here. Okay, I think that'll do for now. Right, where were we? Ah! Ah, fun. So I think it's here. It's when we unplug a wire, we need a way of visualizing what's happened to it. And I think if it's been unplugged from both sides, it should be deleted. It should just vanish. We're only interested in a wire. If it's plugged into something. Also, if you're holding a wire and you press the interact button, you should just drop it wherever you are. So that's another thing. There's quite a lot of complicated stuff to build in here. But one step at a time. When we unplug it, I think we can say at this point, position, send, I don't know, like minus equals like 32, so it just like moves downwards. Or else the socket is not targeting it anymore, which means it's the received one that's going to drop. So I just unplug that. No, we just get an error. Oh yeah. We'll just do its y coordinate is what I was imagining I'd written in there. I will never get the y positive and negative the right way around on my first try, ever. So when you unplug it, you can see it's unplugged, and then the new cable. Yeah. So that's like roughly working for now, but when it's not plugged into anything, it should be off. It should just disappear. It should be deleted. Or maybe not. Maybe it should just fall to the floor. Yeah, maybe it should just fall to the floor, actually. So there's room for these positions to not be locked in place, I guess. It's like what we need to do now is actually build out a wire object, something that has multiple segments and flows like a piece of rope. And I think from my research that I've done, a little bit of research I've done, that's the way to do it. Supposedly that's the way to do it. Lots of little segments that are, is there like a joint or a pivot or something? I think it was called a joint. Oh wait, I just want a normal node. A pin joint 2D, that's it. Two physics bodies. I mean, a spring joint. So that it's a little bit, the wire's a little bit stretchy. It would be fun. I might build a separate node here. That we just feed 2 positions to, and it will just generate a cable between them. It's almost like it's like a wire like renderer object. Simulator, we could call it wire sim. So let's do that. Wire sim like this. And we'll probably need another object called a wire segment. And then the wire sim will have some kind of script that hooks the segments together depending on how long the thing needs to be. Yeah. I think this will work. It's a plan anyway, it's something. I'm just trying to abstract it from the wire object itself so that we can test it before we try and integrate it into our already working wire object. So wire sim will be the thing, and it's going to have, we'll save this in electricity. Yeah, we'll call it wire sim. I think that's fine. And then this will be called wire segment. And a wire segment should just be a polygon or something that we can see, hopefully. That'll look like that. It's probably way, way, way too large, but it's fine. That's what it's going to be. And we'll just call it temp wire or something, and we'll make it I was going to try and make it like copper colored, you know, just because I thought that would be fun. I find this really difficult to use compared to the square one where the darkness is built into it. I find that a lot easier to find the color I want. You got to go right out to the edge for saturation, don't you? And then this is brightness. I just need to get my head around it. Okay, whatever. That looks sufficiently coppery for now. This isn't the point. But it would be a rigid body, right? Would it be a rigid body? Moved by a physics simulation. That's what we want. So we'll just call that segment or something, I guess. And it should have one of those joints, at least one joint. don't know how to use these pin joints. You just node A and node B. And the joint, why doesn't it like this? Oh, okay, yeah, it needs a collider. I'm not convinced it will need a collider. No, it will. We want it to let's look at our physics layers here. Wires. I don't think I've even used that yet, but it's a wire. It's on wires, but it doesn't want to collide with other wires. It only wants to collide with the world and objects, not the player, not ladders, not monkey bars, not interactable objects, normal objects, plates. No, I don't think it needs to react with. I think it's these. I think this is right. It's on wires and it collides with the world and with objects. Okay, and then it's joint can be there. And I'm guessing we're getting a warning from this because it's not connected to two physics bodies. And we're getting a warning from this because it doesn't have a shape yet. Okay. So yes, the idea is that this will connect to this, will connect and so on, yeah? And we'll save wire segment also in electricity as a scene. And so the wire simulation is going to spawn those and connect them all together. And then I guess pin them down to things at the either end. So this is not going to be trivial because yeah, this isn't going to be trivial. It's going to be quite complicated. Let's start by just building one manually ourselves to just understand the process. So we're gonna want like 5 of these segments to kick us off, and the first one will be there, the second one would go there, the third one would go there, and the fourth one would go there, and then the fifth one like that. And then if we move the whole thing and then just run this scene, there it is. What if we just like rotate that one by 90 degrees or something just evil like that just to mess with it? Oh, and then we run the scene. It doesn't start moving. Why doesn't it want to like move? Oh, because none of them are pinned to each other yet. None of them are even pinned to each other. We haven't like set them up at all. They all need to have their editable children, which I can't do to a group of them at once. So, this joint let's get a rigid body or a static body, I guess. We'll put this right at the top and we'll just call it like I don't know, anchor or something. Don't know how to spell anchor. We'll just call it pin. And so the joint, this pin, whatever it is. Oh yeah, I guess because we moved our origin to there now, that's where the transform is, 64, 64. So this one's still going to be at 0, 0, that's fine. And we'll give it a collider. And we'll make that a square or something. And we'll put it there. So that now it's over the top of that first pin. So the first joint hold on, I think in one segment here we want joint like B to always be itself. So now they should all have themselves as their B joint, and then joint, like for this one node A is the pin, and then for this one it's the previous segment, and then for this one it's that segment, for this one it's that segment, and for this one it's that segment. And that's the wrong thing. I've played the whole project. Okay, that's cool. And then if we were to like take this, well, I mean maybe the first one. I mean, let's just try what I did at the beginning. Let's just rotate it by 90 degrees and just see how it messes it up. If it will start swinging and moving. No. I guess they're all just happily pinned to each other, but you'd think that would rotate because of gravity. So what am I missing here? You know, like it's got mass and it's got gravity applied to it. What if we rotate the whole thing? Why doesn't it go oof and like hang down? I would have thought that would have started waggling around like a little tail in the wind, you know? Oh, I don't know. Is rigid body the wrong type of thing? Like, if I get a rigid body here, Oh, it comes from the collision body part of the family there. Collision object, physics body. I'm confused. I would have thought this would be the right thing. Am I just missing something really obvious that we need to do in order to make... Well, I guess if the whole scene is rotated, then maybe its gravity is rotated too. So maybe that's the wrong way of doing it. Oh, I keep doing that. I don't know. To be honest, I probably need to break to get some lunch in anyway. We have made some good progress. But yeah, I might call it for now. Very confusing though. And just to prove I'm not going mad, if I just get any rigid body, oh, hold on a minute. I'm such an idiot. Wait, hold on. I can see what's going wrong here. This is really dumb. The thing I'm drawing needs to be a child of the body. So when because the segment is a joint and the body, right? That's why we have this other node that's parenting the whole lot. But the actual thing needs to move with the segment, right? So yeah, so that's probably the entire reason why they aren't moving. Yeah, and now they fall. Oh, but that's that scene. What about this scene? Okay. That is more promising. And then if I rotate the whole thing, is gravity still downwards? Wrong thing. Yeah! Okay, cool. I mean, it's enormous. It's way too thick for our purposes. So let's make this whole thing much more dainty, which means we don't want to collide with the thing anymore. We probably just... Whoa. You're funny, aren't you? Why did... No, you can... There we go. We can probably just go... Oh, that's 1 pixel. Okay. Well, yeah, let's do that then. Let's go to there. Like so. Make this collider similarly skinny and then press save and then look at our wire sim again. It's very nice. This looks absolutely beautiful. Just, I'm so thrilled. Let's cut these off a bit closer to the joint. So we will, and I'll keep the joint where it is because the joint's like a whole, whatever that is, 8 pixels up. So that looks good. Versalis. Hello. Thick rope indeed. We've got some nice thin rope now. So I guess we'll go up to like 9 pixels. If we're going 1 pixel out, that's probably the right approach. So yeah, it'll be like, because that'll be in line, it'd be there. And then to make that symmetrical on the other side, it's going to be slightly more tricky to know where we're going to, but it will be 9 pixels, yeah? So if I take the thing first, we go up to around there. Is that in line with 10? Yeah, so then that would be 9 there. That's perfect. We'll line that up. We'll get the collider, line that up too. Save. Look at our simulation again. Okay, that's looking definitely good enough for now. And it's behaving like I expect it to. Yeah. Like it's waggling around. Well, I guess the scale of that is about right. If I imagine that waggling there next to this guy. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. So we understand how it all works. And I guess what we want like what happens if this thing's going like that? What if we come in here and we look at the pin here, and while this is running, I'm just going to put it on my other monitor so I can watch it at the same time as changing this value. What happens if we come in here and we change the position of this pin? To like 32 or something. Yeah, the whole thing just moved. Wow. It's like 500. Yeah, okay, so that was a violent move, and it wasn't that keen. It kind of sprayed it all around, over the place, but it did work because it's pinned to that object. When that object moved, it all moved. Okay, so we're starting to get somewhere with this. I guess, yeah, it's hard for you guys to see what I'm doing here because, yeah, I can't edit that value and show you this at the same time. But I suppose I could do it like this. So I'm going to change that from -500 back to -8. There you go. You see, it just moves the point that it's all pinned to, that static body, and everything kind of just got dragged through with it, which is great. That's ideal. That's like what I was hoping. That's how I was hoping it would behave. So we can unrotate this now, and we can also put it back to 0, 0 because we are experimenting, at least with that element is finished now. Now that said, actually having it at 64 by 64 made sense because then we can see it. What I want to be able to do well, let's do pin A, and then let's get a new static body. Called pin B. And it can have collision shape 2. Because that was like over here. So they're like in line with each other. And then if wire segment 5's joint. Ah, yes, I see. It doesn't have a joint of its own. So pin B needs to have that final joint. Which therefore means that this pin actually just does need to be moved to like to there. And then we say that it is node B is itself and its node A is that segment. So now if I run the right scene, it won't move, it's just like held in place. But we could come in here and we could go now to pin B and like kind of move that around. Put this on the other screen here so I can see. Yeah, wow, okay, so look at this. So there you go, that's what it does when you stretch it out too much. It's just like, bro, could you not? And there it is connected to itself. So what we want is a script that will look at the distance between pin A and pin B and adjust the number of wire segments that is in the scene accordingly to be an amount that can cover with some slack that distance. This is going to be tricky. There's so much to think about. So I think I probably will yeah, I'm going to break for lunch and get my head around this, and I'll probably, because I've got until about 5 p.m, I'll probably turn the stream back on in a half hour or so. But yeah, I'll take a break for now. So, big up yourselves. Blup, blup, blup. Thanks for watching. See you next time. I think tomorrow I might, or maybe tomorrow evening. Well, I hope, yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. My schedule is going to be what it is. So, let's just wait and see what I do. All right, cool. Peace out.